There are nights that feel like a punctuation mark stuck into the middle of a paragraph. A single, deliberate sound that forces everyone to reread what they thought they knew. Athens, August 16th, 2004. 0.7 seconds on the clock, Argentina trailing, the ball flicked to a man who had spent a lifetime making impossible moves look like accidents.
What a spectacular finish.
Manu Ginóbili rises, bends his frame around a defender, and releases a shot that does more than win a game. It announces a culture shift. In a week, the world would understand that Argentina had done something the modern international game had not. It beat the Americans and then took gold. For Manu, that buzzer beater was both a summation and a prophecy. The same hands that could curl a ball around a defender in an Olympic gym would years later curl the Spurs dynasty into new shapes. That single moment is the hook. The rest of the story is how a lanky kid from Bahia Blanca taught the NBA new vocabulary. He was born Emmanuel David Ginóbili on July 28, 1977 in Bahia Blanca, Argentina, a city that breeds basketball players the way other towns breed musicians. The teen who learned the craft in local courts didn't sprint toward the NBA the way American prospects do. He took detours through Argentina and Italy, sharpening a game that prized improvisation, misdirection, and timing. In Italy, he became a star at Virtus Bologna, EuroLeague champion, finals MVP, and a triple crown that announced to Europe that something singular walked among them. The Spurs noticed. They picked him 57th overall in the 1999 draft. A late, almost apologetic choice that would age like a sly, patient joke. That draft slot is the kind of number scouts laugh about later. How did we miss him? The inverse of the question shapes Manu's legend. He arrived where draft boards said he shouldn't, and then systematically rewrote what a second-round pick could become. The NBA's first encounters with Manu felt like a fault line. He was not built like a prototypical American guard. His mechanics and timing came from a different grammar. He brought a left-handed craft, a step that was not yet named in every coaching manual, and a curiosity for the absurd. The spin, the Euro step, the dive, the pump fake that sent a center skyward while Manu slipped under like water. Those moves were not showmanship for its own sake. They were answers to a practical problem. How do you force a bigger, stronger league to defend rhythm and angle, rather than just speed and power? Manu's approach asked defenders to unlearn instinct and relearn geometry. When that learning curve bent in his favor, games shifted. San Antonio was a laboratory. Tim Duncan provided gravity, Tony Parker provided tempo, Greg Popovich provided patience, and a moral code that valued craft over ego. What Manu added was unpredictable motion, a plug of spontaneity into a carefully tuning machine. The Spurs did not need another star. They needed a piece that made the rest of the machine hum. Ginóbili was happy to be that piece. He accepted fewer touches, he accepted the stink of informal minutes, and he specialized in what coaches call value per possession. An index not celebrated on highlight reels, but lethal in playoff math. In a league that measures worth in points and usage, Manu became the counterexample. The player whose value multiplied when his minutes were minimized and his impact concentrated. There are signature nights that map the contours of a career. In 2003, Manu was a part of the Spurs' first title in the modern Tim Duncan era. The franchise found stability and a new identity. By 2005 and 2007, paired with Parker and Duncan, Ginóbili's craft was no longer marginal. It was central to the Spurs' playoff DNA. He blurred the line between sixth man and starting guard, and in 2008, the NBA gave him a formal nod. Sixth Man of the Year. But even awards are just thin paper over deeper patterns. What made Manu a legend was not a trophy. It was the cumulative effect of being willing to do the hard, invisible things, turn defense into transition with salvage rebounds, draw attention and then find the cutter, or take an awkward, necessary shot that only he could make because his body had practiced that angle 1,000 times. The Spurs' 4 championships in 2003, 2005, 2007 and 2014 were not one-man shows. They were the product of an ecosystem that Manu learned how to exploit with tiny, decisive acts. To understand why opponents flinched when Manu had the ball, you need to examine the little acts that are never glamorous until they matter. Watch a possession where the offense looks broken. A missed pick, a scramble for a loose ball, Spurs faces down. Manu's feet already have made the option on the floor real. A drive that bends the help, a filler cut to an empty corner, a sudden pass that looks like improvisation but is fundamentally rehearsed. He popularized the Eurostep in the NBA not as a novelty, but as a weapon of timing. Take one step to suggest a direction, then another that the defense has forgotten to guard. Against physical defenders who loved contact, Ginobili used rhythm and displacement. Against switch-heavy lineups, he created space with a fake that looked like a mistake and became a shot. The cinematic effect, defenders flailing while he appears to float in an extra frame of time, is the visual shorthand for why coaches everywhere began replaying his tape. His international arc is part of the argument that 2004 Olympics profoundly changed the sport's global grammar. Argentina's gold medal was not an accident. It was a declaration that basketball's center of gravity was widening. Manu averaged 19.3 points per game in that tournament and led his team with a combination of scoring and craft that convinced skeptics. International players were not only viable in the NBA, they were leading teams and beating the best. The Olympic buzzer beater in Athens, a short window miracle, is the compact image of a career that balanced individual clutch and team timing. It also became a recurring motif. Every time Manu reached for the ball in a tight game, viewers felt the memory of Athens beneath their feet. There are rivalries and interactions that color the narrative. Manu's Spurs met Kobe's Lakers, LeBron's Cavaliers, and Duncan's cross-conference foes. Against Kobe, Ginobili's craft read like a direct counterpoint. Kobe's merciless scoring versus Manu's improvisational glue. Where Kobe bullied with intent, Manu subverted with timing. Against LeBron, matchups were cosmic. LeBron's brute orchestration and court-stealing reach versus Manu's pocket passes and deceptive movement. Those comparisons are not meant to flatten into ranking debates. They exist so viewers feel the contextual friction. The way a Manu play looks different when it arrives against the league's biggest names. Every great opponent sharpened his edges. Every superstar duel became a new dialect for his vocabulary. Popovich's stewardship matters as much as Manu's hands. Greg Popovich is the architect who can take player eccentricities and turn them into reliable structures. He built a house for Duncan's quiet mastery and Parker's speed, then invited Ginobili to live in the attic where chaos met ritual. Popovich's patience allowed Manu to be a specialist of unpredictability. Not reckless improvisation, but disciplined unpredictability. When the Spurs needed order, Pop imposed it. When they needed misdirection, he let Manu create it. That interplay between coach and craft is where dynasty maintenance happens. Players like Manu only flourish where leadership tolerates deviation and trusts intelligence. There are nights that produce the short, viral memory. A Eurostep that looks like a misdemeanor against the laws of motion, a no-look pass that seems to be channeling a sixth sense. And then there are long methodological achievements. Manu's willingness to oscillate between starting and bench roles. His decision to slow his minutes late in career to preserve effectiveness. His mentorship of younger players who watched the left-hand passes and learned how to misdirect defenders themselves. When Ginobili retired in 2018, the Spurs retired his number, 20 in 2019. Those banners are not merely commemorative. They are institutional acknowledgements that the franchise architecture had been changed by a player who never demanded the center spotlight, but made it better when others stood in it. There will always be a temptation to measure Manu by conventional stats and find him wanting. In raw numbers, he amassed about 14,000 career points and averaged 13.3 points per game, not the profile of a franchise centerpiece. But to insist on that metric is to miss the ledger he actually balanced. Win probability per minute, clutch possessions saved, rotational flexibility, and the cultural currency of always being ready for the impossible. His All-Star appearances, 2005, 2011, his Sixth Man of the Year award in 2008, and his eventual Hall of Fame induction in 2022 are the institutional acknowledgements that the game noticed the same intangibles fans felt when watching tape late at night. Those honors crystallize what scouts had seen for years. Manu's impact was both measurable and, in a deeper sense, contagious. Consider the anatomy of a playoff possession where Manu matters. A mismatch appears, defenses overcommit, the ball swings to a guarded Parker, one pass later, Manu breaks baseline, catches on the move, and executes a left-handed floater that bends the margin by 2. Edited out of context, it's a highlight. In context, it is the product of repetition, hours of practice, film study, and an internalized sense of what the defense will do next. Players who win championships are not merely talented. They rehearse uncertainty until it stops being surprising. Manu's genius was to make randomness look trained. There are also the human textures. The way he arrived in San Antonio as a smiling, talkative Argentinian and became a code of quiet confidence in the locker room. The way teammates describe him not as a selfish star, but as the friend who would take the hard defensive assignment, the late flight, the extra practice. Those small human choices, quality of presence, readiness to mentor, refusal to posture, are the scaffolding upon which dynasties are built. They are the reasons other stars respected him. Duncan's steady approval, Parker's trust in pick-and-roll timing, Popovich's quiet nods of strategic approval. The Spurs were not only a team, they were an organism where roles fit into larger rhythms, and Manu was the cell that could change shape when the organism needed it. If you want an organism-level lesson, watch how opponents adapted. Early on, teams treated Ginobili like a trickster. Stop Parker and you contain the Spurs. But history teaches strategy. Pressure the ball, limit transition, deny passing lanes. Opponents learn to respect the baseline cut, the sudden left hand, the delayed hop that created a new lane. The league's defensive schematics changed because he existed. Coaches began emphasizing switchability, scouting reports added new boxes, and young guards practiced the Euro step in gyms from Memphis to Madrid. That's the true sign of influence. Technique adopted, playbooks adjusted, and commentary evolving from "what was that?" to "do that more." Manu's international life also offers a civic chapter. He helped Argentina become a global showcase team and inspired a generation of Latin American players to believe the NBA was not a distant dream but a plausible path. The flag bearing in Beijing and the Olympic gold in Athens were not only personal achievements, they were national rituals that transformed basketball culture in Argentina. The spillover effect is practical. Scouting pipelines widened, fans abroad had their heroes, and for a long time South America felt like a site of serious NBA caliber talent rather than an afterthought. That cultural export is part of his legacy. When Manu's career wound down, the arc had a satisfying symmetry. He left as he arrived, not with chest-thumping pronouncements, but with a quiet ceremony. He joined the Spurs front office as an advisor in 2021, his number. 20 was retired and the Hall of Fame door opened in 2022. These are not merely honours, they are the institutional punctuation that says the game remembers the man who once used a step to change a game's grammar. The long view says the league absorbed his vocabulary. Young guards now practice the Euro step. Teams now program for players who can invent in motion. Coaches now value the player who creates edges rather than monopolizes shots. There is an image that should close this story because it explains everything. A late playoff possession where the arena breathes, a scramble for a loose rebound, and Manu Ginobili stepping into the seam like someone who has walked through this kind of chaos 1,000 times. He catches, he looks at a teammate, and in a blink, an impossible physics lesson, he executes the left-handed finish that dissolves doubt. That motion is both small and enormous, the micro-perfect frame that, when strung into seasons and tournaments, becomes a career. The lesson is plain and human. Greatness is not always a mountain of numbers. Sometimes it is a long, exacting accumulation of the small decisions that win moments, change tactics, and rewrite how the sport itself thinks about what's possible. If you ask for the short verdict, without the heat of fandom and without the cold of pure statistics, say this: Manu Ginobili is the kind of legend the modern game invented because he could do what the star could not or would not. He made unpredictability reliable. He took the unpredictable and practiced it into a toolkit. He taught the NBA how to defend motion, and in doing so, changed the game's grammar. He left with rings, a jersey in the rafters, and a generation of players who will forever try to emulate that odd, beautiful angle he called the Euro step. That, more than one buzzer beater or one MVP nod, is what makes him a story people return to. Not because he was always the biggest name, but because he kept making the biggest plays when the night asked for them.